You're already here. You know what? Join early. You might need to be in for this.
Oh, I was supposed to wait?
Yeah, you're supposed to wait, but that's okay.
I can go back.
No, stay. Just stay. Because you can hear. Tell me if you can hear this. First off, let me.
I can. Can you hear me? If you need to.
Yeah, I can hear you. You sound fine.
Okay, cool.
Okay, can you see me and everything? And
I can. Everything is good. But I'm sorry, I just messed up, interrupted your trolling of someone.
No, you're not. You're gonna be here.
I thought you had like a, on StreamYard, they have like a room where they keep you in.
They don't do that here. It just says admit or deny. Okay. Now tell me if you can hear this, real quick. Tell me if you can hear this. I see dead people. Can you hear that? You can hear that? Okay. All right. Okay. I just want to make sure.
It's a great quote. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
All right. Now let me do this. By the way, you have no part in this. Colonel Kurtz has no part in this. I just want to be clear. Let's see.
I just about everything that will happen in the next hour. Let's just do a blanket.
Yeah, you know what? That's fair. All right. Let's see.
I can't believe you've been at this for like hours and hours, dude. You do long streams.
I do long streams. That's not the only. Never mind. I won't make that joke. I'm a gentleman. All right. Oh, did it not go through? Is their phone turned off? Wait. I might have to do it this other way. Let's see. Plus. Because I have a Mexican phone. Let's see. Plus. Yeah. It should go through. If not, I'll call on the. I think their phone's like dead.
Okay, are you prank calling someone?
Yeah. All right, now give me one more try. You won't be able to hear this one now, but
you're fine. Okay.
All right, let's see. Okay. Enter a name or a number. All right, let's see.
The person you are calling cannot accept calls at this time. We're sorry for any inconvenience this may cause.
They can't accept calls at this time. I think they legit. One of my enemies is like completely broke. Bills. Yeah, they said they were gonna like end my career and kill me and all this shit. And you know, obviously those things didn't happen. And today they announced they were taking a step back from streaming. They weren't making enough money to stream as a living anymore.
Oh, I saw something about that, but I don't even remember who it was.
Yeah, they went to this poetry slam to read my tweets out, and they thought this was going to be this epic on, and they made $5 total off this. And then some guy, their last pay pig, but I don't like that word, by the way. Their last contributor. I don't like using that word. Their last contributor. Offered to loan her some money, but was like, you know, when are you gonna pay me back? And I think he was trying to fuck too or whatever. And well, you know, I mean, I wouldn't loan the bitch any money either if she wasn't gonna fuck me. Like, why? But anyway, so no offense, sorry to talk rude in front of a lady, but
no, you're fine. I expect it here.
All right, good. Now anyway, so she said, no, fuck off. And so she's minus $138 in the bank. And her dad's got to go to court on the 5th, and he's going to divorce court on the 18th, where
they announced all of this?
Yeah, they announced all this. Yeah. They're probably trying to
I think I can see why their podcast is not doing well.
Yeah, I can see why too. By the way, welcome to the show. Let me read these out real quick because
go for it. You're fine.
Because we are what? I don't know. What is the number away? I just did the fucking math. 4601 away from 91 straight Killstream goals met in a row. Now, not 91 days in a row, 91 straight shows in a row. Powerchat.live/the Killstream.live/tip. Let's see. $ Sunset Squad on Cash App. Rumble Rants. I think I read them correctly. And you can use Entropy now as well. Powerchat.live/the Yes, I did say that. Okay. So we have plenty of show left. Let me tweet out that you're on the show, actually.
Yeah, go for it.
And they don't like it when you post links because they're fucking
I
pieces
know,
of
that's
shit.
what I've heard.
Yeah, it hurts your algorithm. It's fucking horseshit, honestly. But let me go ahead and I'll quote tweet from earlier because I did put out a tweet earlier. And let's see. I spelled your name right this time too.
You did?
Did I get any points for that or what?
Absolutely. Are you getting feedback when you hear me? Should I? Am I good? I was hearing something for a minute there, but if it's cool for y'all,
you should be fine. I think I had your mic too loud. Do you sound better now?
Yeah, I don't hear it anymore. Okay, we're good.
Okay, yeah, your mic was just too loud. Okay, and then what's your Twitter again, Colonel?
It's Colonel Kurtz 99.
Just like the full Colonel.
Yeah, it's not very catchy or easy.
It's
for
a little
people
long.
to spell.
Well, I mean, mine's the Ralph retort. Okay, so I guess I can't talk too much shit. Okay.
But it makes sense. If people don't know Apocalypse Now, then it makes absolutely no sense to them. So that is a problem. I thought about changing it, but then at that point, I did have a number of people who knew me that way, and I was like,
yeah, maybe not the best idea. I'll give you some free advice here. Now, so last time we were here, we talked about my sleepy appearance with Rekieta. Of course, I was really tired. I've had a couple other sleepy nights since then, so fell off a little bit, I guess you could say. Fair to say, but I'm back on the old wagon there. Here, go ahead.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Grace is a used up slag. You, on the other hand, would.
Oh, wow. I said Grace Thorpe is a used up slag. You, on the other hand, would. And by the way, you revealed your age last time, but how old? You told me, but I forgot.
I turned 44 not too long from now. I know it's hard to believe, and I'm not bragging on myself.
No, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. You look good for 44. Like, I'm not trying to hit on you, but like, yeah, like, wow.
I appreciate you.
You look better than Grace Thorpe at 21 years old. Like, I'm not kidding. And
I don't know who that is. Oh yeah, that's right. That's your like enemy.
That's the broke bitch. Yeah, who can't even pay her phone bill anymore. Yeah, that's who that is. So I don't know press 1 if she looks better than Grace Thorpe. Her at 44,
you set
Grace.
The bar so low.
Press 1 if she looks better than Grace Thorpe at 21. Press 2 if she does not, and we'll take a vote here in chat. Usually we do smash or pass, but I don't do that with guests. If you've officially been on the show as a female, I feel it's inappropriate to do a smash or pass. But if you've never been on the show, then I would have done one. I would have done one, but that's a rule that I have on the Killstream. Basically,
I'm getting some great ideas from you for my own.
Yeah,
program.
basically, we all ones in the chat. By the way, basically we sexualize all women pretty much on the show. But if they've been on the program, I refuse to do an actual smash or pass because I made that rule. Because
you are one of the most gallant gentlemen on the internet.
Right? Yeah, so that's true. After they've been on the show, can't do it anymore.
Friend sent $2 on Rumble.
But you won the poll.
This broad is one of my favorite guests. Make sure she links her shit.
But Base Fran just said, "Yo, this broad is one of my favorite guests. Make sure she links her shit." Well, you know what? That's kind of
it's all Colonel Kurtz 99.
I'm gonna put. Yeah, it's on my Twitter right now. If you just go to my Twitter.
So like YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, just put in Colonel Kurtz, like the character Apocalypse Now. Look it up. Colonel Kurtz 99, all lowercase. That's
all right.
Me.
Now, also, let me put you back on screen.
And thank you.
And that's very nice of him. Yes, it was. And we're even closer to the goal. It was nicer of him to give me money, actually. But you won the poll.
You're so much better at making money than I am, I have to say. Like, I feel like I've definitely, my strategy is lacking.
I did a project with Grace last year, and, we used to do this thing. She was my protege, basically, and she turned on me. And, she's this young 21-year-old Catholic thing. I had her in the Catholic schoolgirl dress, singing Billy Joel, How does the song go? I can't remember. What is that song? What is that Billy Joel song? It goes, "Come out, Virginia, don't make me wait, you Catholic girl." You don't know Billy Joel, do you?
I don't.
God
I know like a few songs.
Let's see.
We Didn't Start the Fire. That's a good song.
A Smaster 33 sent $1 on Rumble. Hey baby, you into slightly overweight skinheads 13 years your junior?
Only the good die young. So anyway, she used to come on here and we would do dances. Assmaster said, "Hey baby, you into slightly overweight skinheads 13 years your junior?" I don't know if she is or not.
Not my usual demographic.
Not your usual demo, but maybe. This is not, it wasn't a no. Okay, now, so we did this thing. She was my protege basically. And I was trying to, help her get started in the business. We had a lot of fun on the show actually. Then she stabbed me in the back. There's this thing called the Ralpha curse. I don't know if you heard of it before, but people who stab me in the back, bad things tend to happen to them. And it really usually has nothing to do with me. It's just like bad
divine justice.
Yeah, it's just like basically. Bad shit happens to them. I don't it's not usually something I did. It's just bad shit happens to them. And so Nick Rekieta, actually, me and him had a huge beef. And he used to be a major guest on the show for like years, and we had a beef, and we buried the hatchet. Actually, and got back on the same page. But there was still
that karma, that bad karma.
Well, some people said that the Ralph curse still hit him because it was like, even though we buried the hatchet, that it still hit him. I didn't say that, by the actually, I did say that very first night, just the first super chat. That was mean.
I mean, it sounds like a logical conclusion.
But it was almost like, man, damn, it still hit him, and I was trying to avoid it from hitting him. But some good news has come his way. He got his kids back yesterday, and I saw you speculate on Twitter. I don't remember if we talked about this last time or not, or if the cocaine test had come out last time or not.
Well, I think that we talked maybe briefly about it was like the 9-year-old kid that had tested positive for like some kind of significant levels of cocaine.
Yeah, it was like
right?
5,000 nanograms or some shit of cocaine, which is like, basically, you would have to be either a fairly heavy daily user or like a really heavy weekend user to have those levels of cocaine in your system as a 9-year-old girl. Now, I speculated that was unlikely to be an accurate test, right? Just didn't sound right to me. I didn't know any 9-year-old girls who snorted cocaine at all. Much less that would snort that amount of cocaine. I have known women who've snorted that amount of cocaine for sure, but not.
It would be pretty bizarre. It'd be pretty bizarre.
It would be pretty bizarre. And Nick disputed the test. I disputed the test. Everybody disputed the test. Well, not everybody. Some people still believe it actually. But anybody with a brain disputed the test because it just doesn't make any fucking sense, right? So anyway,
and there were even, and if you'll remember too, there were even people floating this theory that he was intentionally dosing the kid.
Yes,
to treat her ADHD,
yes,
right?
Which is insane. Come on, dude. He's intentionally dosing his 9-year-old. Now again, he's allegations. I'm not saying anything about him, but if he's dosing himself, whatever. Dosing your children with cocaine, that's pretty whacked out. I would say if you're doing that would probably signify some mental problems you might need to get committed for, right? That was something that came from Kiwi Farms, and I was just like, yeah, of course he's dosing his 9-year-old daughter with enough cocaine to fucking sink Colombia off into the ocean. Is it by the ocean? I don't know. Whatever. You know what I'm saying, right? It didn't make any sense to me. Well, yesterday he got his kids back. Now, of course, he still got the charges. I think they've offered him some plea deals. I don't expect him to go to jail, really. All these people baying for their blood. They want the body cam footage, and they want him in jail, and they're so pissed he got his kids back. And how did he get his kids back? Did his parents had to move back in and all this shit? They're just mad, basically. What are your thoughts on the whole situation? I saw you put out a tweet that said basically what I just said. How could that test have been accurate if he was able to get his 9-year-old daughter and the rest of his kids back yesterday? How could that have been accurate?
Yeah, I came into this not really knowing Rekieta. I'd only watched occasionally some of his Amber Heard Johnny Depp coverage, his live streaming, and then he had been on my show on a 24-hour stream actually that I did. But
I've done some of those.
He went on,
a doll will set $1
wait,
on
one
Rumble.
sec.
When is the Colonel going to co-host a movie night and do a full commentary collab? I think the people
When is
want
Colonel going to co-host a movie night and do a full commentary collab? I think the people want it. Yeah, maybe you're going to have to be my new protege because the last one, you said you wanted to learn how to make money on the internet. The last one didn't want to learn because she's broke, minus 138 in the bank now. So, maybe we'll have to start having you on more often.
I would love to learn.
Okay,
I would love to learn,
right.
seriously.
Okay, well, I'm serious too. Now maybe we will do, actually. It would have to be Apocalypse Now, I would assume.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But they told me on Robot Streamer, where we usually do our movie nights, that I can't. They're getting reports and stuff. A-Log, they're trying to like get my movie nights fucked off. But I was told that Vaughn TV didn't give a fuck, and that I could do them on Vaughn TV, so that we could just watch Apocalypse Now.
You're like a
on Vaughn
wanted
TV.
man. There's like no place that's safe for you except what,
Yeah.
Rumble?
Well, Rumble even won't allow me to play Apocalypse Now, right? Because it's so copyrighted and shit.
Oh, it's the copyright stuff. Okay, I got you.
You know what?
And
I talked to the boss in Odyssey. They're gonna set. Well, I won't spoil it, but I'll talk to him again tonight. But white labeling is what they call it. But I won't spoil the surprise. But me and Julian are still cool, in case anybody wondering about the Odyssey stuff. Talked to him last night. For all the A-Logs out there, fuck
Smaster
you.
33 sent $1
They
on
think
Rumble.
we're not friends anymore.
Hey, Colonel, what would you call the Flintstones if they were black?
What would you call the Flintstones if they were black? I just got a super chat saying that.
Is he gonna answer? Tell me the punchline.
No, you're supposed to answer.
But I am on the edge of my seat though to hear the punchline.
Yeah, tell me the punchline, because I really don't know. But the first movie, I don't know if you can do it tomorrow night, but if not, maybe next week or something. We'll have to.
Absolutely. I think that would be funny.
We'll have to do Apocalypse Now, since that seems to be one of your specialties. And the 70s, the auteur era is actually my favorite era.
Early Coppola is great.
Yes, yes. Of course, I'm a huge Godfather 1 and 2 fan. I guess every guy is. Unless if they're a real man. If you're a real man, act like a man. Why don't you act like a man? Anyway, yeah. So the whole Coppola catalog. Well, maybe not the whole Coppola catalog.
The early stuff.
Yeah.
And so you know what? I actually think that making Apocalypse Now, it like did something to him psychologically, and that's why his movies after that
kind of suck.
Generally not. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's okay.
Well, if you know anything about the filming of that movie, it was quite difficult. Well, you do.
Yeah, but in general, like the audience, they should look it up.
Yeah.
Because it's notorious. It is notorious in the history of cinema movie making as like one of the, if not the worst, movie making experiences in terms of like all the shit that was going wrong and how they really did kind of go crazy. Martin Sheen had a heart attack at age 36.
Yes. Yes, he did. He almost died. Yeah, I was gonna say. And they were filming out in the middle of the jungle and shit. Yeah, it was. If you don't know about the making of Apocalypse Now, you should know. I agree with that, because like it's one of the craziest things in history. What's your coolest factoid before we get into the more drama stuff? What's your coolest factoid about Apocalypse Now?
Well,
besides the one you just said.
There's so many of them, but I think one of the things that would be really shocking to audiences today is that there's actual animal sacrifice at the end of the film. You see a bull or a calf killed, and it is actually killed. And so what was going on is there were natives living around here. We're talking about natives as like in the jungle, right?
Yes,
and there were natives living in the area where they were filming, and these natives actually had these animal sacrifice ceremonies. And so when Coppola started using some of these natives as extras in his movie, they became friendly, and then they invited them to watch these animal sacrifice ceremonies. And so when you see at the end, when you see that animal being killed, like it's literally happening. Now, I understand none of us like to see animals, get killed and what have you, but I'm saying that is something that today
I like to see him on the plate already. Like, I don't need to see that, right? You know what I mean? Like
that's the hypocrisy, but it's true. It's absolutely true. You're right.
Yeah, I don't like seeing them killed, but when they're cooked up on my plate, that's okay. But yeah, there was another movie somebody wanted me to watch, and they're like, there's like 5 like actual animal sacrifices during this movie. It was Assmaster, actually, the guy who's been.
I was gonna say, was it Cannibal Holocaust? But
yeah, it was actually.
Was it?
Yes, actually, that's exactly the film it was, and I was like, dude, I'm not watching this. What the fuck?
It's a fucked up movie.
Yeah, of course, he always suggests the most fucked up movie.
Yeah.
But the Rekieta stuff. So you were on you were doing a 24-hour stream. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and so he came on and everything went fine. But my point is that I don't really know him. And so it's been interesting to me as somebody who doesn't know him to have all of this information coming out online and different opinions and everything, and to have to kind of hold in my mind like different possibilities for what kind of a guy this is.
Sure.
And of course, like you were saying, there's one narrative on the internet where people imagined his house, and I talked about this in my tweet, his house to be like a house of horrors. And hyper neglected children, and Kayla Rekieta, she doesn't even bathe, she just walks around all the time looking horrible and all of that. And and then and so it was and then the thing with the kid, there was a part of me, even though it's in hindsight, it does sound crazy. There was a part of me that wondered, well, I don't know this guy. Maybe he really was. Maybe he thought, ADHD medication, no different from cocaine, and really in a lot of ways,
it's really not. But
yeah, exactly. And so there was a part of me that I could kind of see how someone. Let me put it this way: you know how there are people who are too smart for their own good.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see him.
I'm one. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, I almost said that.
Yeah, I know one of those guys. But anyway, go ahead.
I was going to say, like you and me, basically.
Yeah.
No, but there are people who they're too clever for their own good. And there was a part of me that could almost kind of see that, right? But if he's got his kids back now, especially with all of the publicity that this thing has gotten, and the authorities there in Minnesota, like they're tracking all of this stuff online. They know that people are watching. I just don't think there's any way in hell they would give him his kids back so quickly if they really thought that this kind of fucked up shit was going on. I just don't really think that. And I know now, I brought this
the brum
because I don't want to hear a fucking word from anyone.
You're sweeping for Rekieta right now. They're going to call you a sweeper. But it made no sense to me from the start. And like you said, you didn't know him that well. I knew him fairly well. I would consider him a friend at a certain point. He'd been on the show many times. Of course, we had a big feud too. They're pretty famous as well. But we buried that, and then bad shit still happened to him. He didn't strike me as that type of guy. And also, I had been around him and his wife, and I know there's all these rumors and all this stuff and extracurricular activities, etc. But I had been around him and his wife, and I know they love each other, from what I could tell, at least. Right? I won't comment. Things can change, I guess. I've had a wife or two. I guess things can change, but from my experience with them, I wouldn't expect, hatred or them to turn on each other. Of course, I didn't expect.
Well, I don't doubt.
Me either. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I don't doubt that he has been living an unconventional lifestyle, and that his sexual relationships or practices or whatever, however you want to put it, might be outside of some people's comfort zones or what have you.
Alleged, by the way, alleged. We don't know that those
alleged.
Only one.
No. And all of this is just my opinion, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But I personally, I think there is probably an unconventional relationship with April going on, and I don't judge that. And secondly, I'm someone who's not married legally or whatever, right? And secondly, though, I think that he probably has used some cocaine, and there was, I don't think it was like everything was planted there or something. I think that you've got somebody who, at least at one point, was recreationally using drugs, and I have no judgment about that. The only time that I have judgment about it is if it is actually endangering their kids, and I just don't see that he would have his children back now so soon after the state had taken them, that he would have them back so soon if that was truly an endangering environment. I just don't believe it.
I don't either. And also, if you believe the allegations in the search warrant, the affidavit and all that, I mean, the drugs were locked up, right? Like they weren't, sitting out on the kitchen table. They're locked in a safe, literally. And, drugs are, in the same house as kids. I know people have problems with that or whatever. But, if any of that's true, it seemed like he was, if he was doing that, again, I don't, anything the government says, I
agree.
I don't trust the government. But it sounds like if those things are true, he was being a responsible user, actually. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly. If the drugs were locked up and it wasn't bleeding over into other areas of his life with his kids, to where they were being truly neglected or endangered, then I absolutely believe that it's not any of our business, but it doesn't mean that he's a terrible father. And look, the thing is, like, I don't drink alcohol just because I don't like it personally. It's just not my thing. Like, we all have things that we like and we don't like, just, things that do it for us and they don't. But alcohol just makes me sick, makes me feel tired. I don't like the way it makes me feel. So it's easy for me to say what I'm about to say, but like, I'm sort of baffled by how much more acceptable it is for people to drink or even get drunk around their kids. When's the last time you thought badly of someone because they weren't locking their alcohol away or whatever, right? And so I understand that Coke and other drugs like this, I understand that they get a worse reputation. And yes, there are adulterants in them that can make them a lot more lethal. And I understand that, the visual image of people snorting or whatever, it turns people off. It's different than drinking. But I just don't see where this is some great moral failing on his part that's any worse than people who are heavy drinkers around their kids. I don't know. I just don't.
Well, alcohol is the worst drug there is, actually. I'm kind of now. Yeah, I mean, by a lot. I'm known for my public struggles with substance abuse, I guess you could say. Alcohol would be one of them. But really, so the show, when it first took off way back in the day, I was drinking pretty much every show, right? Like that was just part of the show, me getting drunk and talking shit, and it was no problem until it became a problem, and until I got back on an old habit of mine, Xanax. And when you mix, I don't know, you don't like alcohol, but
I've had that. No, but I've had the experience you're going to talk about, like where I was hanging out in college with friends, and even though I didn't like drinking, it was just the thing to do. So I drank too much, and then I'd never tried Xanax before, or maybe I had, but never taken it with alcohol.
Yeah,
and
it's totally different.
And I totally blacked from that point on. Totally blacked out. And as it turns out, I don't want to share this story with you all, but I did do something that was definitely not what I would have done in my sober state of mind.
I won't elaborate, but I can imagine. Yeah. I've done some things that I wouldn't have done either in that state. And you totally, you don't always black out, but if you take enough, you'll black out. And you'll say some things you don't mean. Like I've said some of the meanest things to some people that it's like a demon inside you almost. Here's a super chat
on Rumble. Booze is ape monkey shit. The true patrician's choice is methamphetamine.
He said,
flex biceps.
Booze is monkey shit, I'll just say. He said the true patrician's choice is methamphetamine. He likes methamphetamine. And he talks about that often.
Alcohol is so pleb, right?
Alcohol is so pleb. Yeah, he thinks weed is pleb too. I used to be a big pothead as well. I don't smoke now.
That's my substance of choice. I wouldn't even call it a drug because when you do something so much that it's just like woven in with your life.
That's how it was with me. Yeah. It was like 5-6 joints a day. Vape, pick it up, bong rip. Yeah, that's how it was with me.
But you're not doing that now? You stopped weed?
I stopped weed. I stopped weed. I haven't smoked weed in a minute. So yeah, I stopped smoking weed. I do. You know what happened? How I became an alcoholic? I told this story on air before, but I was basically forced to leave my hometown. I got into some legal problems, and one of my lawyer's defenses was, well, he's about to leave with his mother to move to South Carolina, and I was 20 years old. And they said, well, he's leaving town anyway, let him off, whatever. I got caught with some Xanax, and he said, get a prescription for it. And I bought one from an online pharmacy, and he looked at this and he said, this is bullshit. But the judge happened to be his brother-in-law. And so he said, look, Your Honor, my client had a prescription. Here it is right here. And before the state could even object, he said $500 fine. And the state didn't even get a word out because the fix was already in, basically.
I see. Well, good for you.
Yeah, and then I had 2 marijuana possessions within a month's time. Now, in Arkansas at the time, I lived in West Memphis, Arkansas, born in Memphis. I consider myself, Memphian, basically.
Oh, like Damian Eccles and all of that.
Yep.
Stuff,
West
right?
Memphis 3. I know. I was the same age as the kids when they were murdered, and went to Boy Scouts with was it Evans, I think was the last name. I can't remember all. Michael Myers. I think it was Chris Evans.
So people around you were talking about that stuff a lot, I bet.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't even. The whole town was on lockdown for like a year and a half after.
A Smaster 33 cent $1 on Rumble. Admit you're a marijuana addict. Hold on. Embrace the crystal.
The crystal.
It burns so good. How you gonna fix your VCR when you're stoned and eating?
How you gonna fix your VCR when you're stoned and eating all the cookies that
beat
your marijuana?
I mean, I'll say this. I definitely did a lot of Adderall and stuff when I was trying to finish school, particularly grad school, and like the problem, sir, And how have you solved this problem? The problem, sir, is the downs that come after the up periods, or you just never come down. You just stay up the whole time.
I think he might just stay up. But yeah, so the West Memphis Three, let's see if I can name them all. Jesse Baldwin, Baldwin, I forget his first name, Jesse Miskelly, and of course Damien Eccles, who was painted as Satan, basically, by the local press. They made 3 movies about it on HBO, Paradise Lost, 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if you know all this history or whatever.
I do actually. No, I think it's cool.
Yeah, and so I was the same age as these kids when they were murdered. And you couldn't go outside. Like, your parents wouldn't let you go outside for like a year and a half afterwards without like parental supervision. There was a lot of, they call it satanic panic. Is what they call it now. But at the time, there was a lot of worries that there were going to be more child murders in the area. And so I guess it's kind of a scarring event in my life.
Right, that's what I was thinking, honestly. I bet really, in a lot of ways, it was kind of always in the background with your life.
Yeah, and it ate almost 2 years up of my childhood. I mean, I couldn't walk down the street, riding the bike around town. That was like that wasn't happening. And so, yeah, the West Memphis Three, seminal moment. Now, at first I believed, like the whole town, that they were guilty of sin, right? And it was just foregone conclusion they were guilty of sin. And as I got older, I came to believe that they did not commit the murders, and they eventually did get out for pleas and all this stuff, and so they are out now. But at the time, like, it was locked down. Evening Times is the local paper there in West Memphis, and every day was a new headline about an atrocity. The little boys were like castrated and shit. Like, it was a gruesome scene. And so there was no doubt. And Damien Eccles was like, now he listened to. We'll talk about Manson here in a minute, but I don't know if Manson.
Was Metallica, I think.
Yeah, it was Metallica. It wasn't even like really hardcore shit, but
right.
But he had a real attitude about him though, and he was really flippant. Like, if you watch these films, you may have seen him. He's like devil may care attitude, and he's like smirking around. He's playing the heel, right? Well, he got sent to death row for playing the heel. They gave the other 2 life in prison without parole. Now they're out now, all 3. But yeah, I didn't know you knew about the West Memphis Three. Actually, I should have known that. But yeah, I know a lot about it. I never thought about it that way though. That it was kind of almost like a PTSD type thing in my childhood, really, because most kids don't go through that, right? Where you're just like on basic permanent lockdown for 18 months to 2 years.
I can see that, yeah. People are scared of it.
Yeah, maybe you could go out and play baseball if your parents are with you at the park or something like that. But as far as like, most kids are just going to people's houses, right? Other friends' houses, riding their bikes around. That was a no-no for like 2 years almost. And eventually, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on the West Memphis Three or that case? Or
I mean, I've just seen the documentaries that you were talking about, but I mean, here's an interesting segue into Manson, and we can talk about Rekieta more if you want to as well. But actually, so the woman who directed those documentaries exposing the injustice that had occurred with the West Memphis Three, she also directed Evan Rachel Wood's HBO 2-part hit piece on Manson that came out several years ago. Yes, and I've actually argued with this woman. It's Amy Berg, this producer.
She's a very famous director. Yeah,
I've argued with her over DMs before she blocked me. But I was trying to say to her, like, can't you see that actually what you're doing with Manson is you are West Memphising him, and you don't realize it because you just blindly trust what these women are telling you. And there are just a number of people who are really invested in the idea that women won't lie about this kind of stuff, and that these kinds of hoaxes are not possible. And so the thing with the Manson story is that the reason I've been hanging on for 3.5 years covering it, even though I understand it's not always the most culturally prominent thing, but I think it's just such a fascinating story that you have this collusion between these different women recruited by a disgruntled, crazy, frankly, ex-girlfriend, Evan Rachel Wood, and these group of women that collude with people in the media to get this documentary made, to have the week that they came out with their allegations, to have all of these big interviews, New York Magazine and The View and Good Morning America, and all this stuff. And then you also had Democratic politicians going after Manson, which I know sounds kind of crazy because, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, it was the right wing that was critiquing him, right? But in this case, you had a number of California, and and some of them in other states as well.
They blamed him for Columbine and all kinds of shit. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so he's been through these kinds of, you used the term satanic panic earlier, these different kinds of panics. And it mostly came from the right wing and the Christian right in the beginning. And then it seemed with Columbine that really triggered a lot more widespread criticism of him. And then now with Me Too, it's been a kind of a sexual panic that has allowed these hoaxers to create a really pretty astounding hoax. And thank God that I think enough people have finally caught on to the truth, particularly in the entertainment industry, that Manson is being allowed back in. And so he's platformed on Spotify and iTunes. His new song, his new single is #1 on the rock and metal charts, but platformed on iTunes. Yeah, seriously. I mean, I don't know where it is now, but like several days ago, it was #1 in the rock and metal. And so he's got some headlining shows that he's doing here and in Europe, across the country and in Europe. And then he's also the opening act for Five Finger Death Punch. I'm not a big fan of their music. It's just not my thing, but they're very popular. And so he's going around to arenas and amphitheaters doing a 1-hour opening act for them. And a lot of people are showing up these concerts just to see Manson and not even to see Five Finger Death Punch. So he's got a new music video out. I don't want to sound like his PR manager, but I'm just saying it is really astounding to me that someone who was people tried so hard to cancel has been able to.
Ye brought him out too. Actually, I don't know if you saw
it. No,
Ye brought him out during the middle before they had debunked some of this stuff. I'm going to go through your debunking. How you say it got debunked here in a second, but Ye brought him out. Now Ye's had his own controversies still going on actually, but he brought him out. I think it was the Donda 2. I don't know if it was Donda 2 or Donda 1, but the whole stadium show, and he brought out Marilyn Manson when he was being blackballed. He brought him out. Now here goes a super chat. Hold on.
Bristle0088 sent $5 on Rumble. Has the guest, or host for that matter, read David McGowan's weird scenes in Lauren Canyon?
Has the guest, or host for that matter, the host has not, but has the guest?
I have not. Lauren Canyon or Laurel Canyon?
Let's see. I think it says Lauren Canyon, but let me.
I have not though. I can look it up though. I'll look up the name after I get
Laurel Canyon. It should be right. Let's see.
Laurel Canyon makes sense. Music.
Let's see.
I got you. I know. I should read it though.
Laurel Weird Canyon, scenes. The inside story of rock and roll's legendary neighborhood. Is that what you're talking about, Gristle? Laurel, yeah, it was Laurel. I have not, but that sounds like something I would enjoy as a rock and roll fan. Although I'm a rap fan too, because I'm from Memphis, 3 6 Mafia and all that shit. I came out.
I like that.
Do you like 3 6 Mafia?
Yeah. I mean, just what I've heard. Like, I couldn't tell you like all their songs or whatever.
Well, yeah, you probably couldn't go through their whole catalog like I can. Yeah.
Not like you.
Sipping on some scissor, that one. But anyway, hopefully.
I do.
What is the other one? I gotta stay.
I was thinking of the Stay Fly.
Yeah. It's actually Stay High though, not Stay Fly.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
So those are the two that I know.
The censored one is Stay Fly, but it's Stay High, is the uncensored version. But, okay. So first off, tell me what they alleged, and then tell me how you and others tore down the allegations.
So the way this happened is that I'll go way back and see how it started with Evan Rachel Wood. Yeah. So Evan Rachel Wood for years and years had always been adamant in interviews over years about the fact that Marilyn Manson was great, that he wasn't at all this weird controlling guy that people were afraid of. In fact, with him, she had finally found the freedom to be who she really was.
I've heard this story before, by the way, and from somebody else. But anyway, go ahead. I'll just
I know. Well, it's good.
That's an insider reference, by the way. You wouldn't get it, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. So anyway, so she, so for years and years, and then after they broke up, even in subsequent interviews and so forth, nothing but good things to say about him and her time with him. And then what happened was, when she claims that, and she said this in an interview, she claims that when Trump was elected, that it was a wake-up call for her that she needed to become more of an activist, and therefore she was going to start sharing about the sexual assaults that she had been through. Now, back then, she claimed originally that she had been assaulted by 2 people, a significant other, and then the owner of a bar. And elsewhere in the interview, she mentions Manson in a really good light. So it's almost like in that interview, she's talking about 2 people unrelated to Manson. It's kind of strange. But what happened was, for several years after that, she began speaking out as an activist about the trauma of being an abuse assault survivor, never naming Manson. Then she testified before the U.S. House of Representatives, like the main one, the Capitol. She testified before a bunch of House members about her trauma. And she also testified before the California Assembly. She wrote a law, a bill that became a law, a Survivors Act, the Phoenix Act for survivors, extending the statute of limitations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so here's the point that I'm making. She got a lot of fucking mileage and attention as this activist. And also at this time, she was dating a woman who was also an activist and also had herself engaged in some hoaxes before this. And this woman, Ilma Gore, her claim to fame was having painted a portrait of Trump with a micro penis. And so that was her big work of art that got her a lot of acclaim, was Trump with a micro penis.
I remember that, actually. But
yeah. So that's Evan Rachel Wood's ex-girlfriend. And so what happened was these two got together, and it was kind of like a perfect storm, like feeding off of each other, and really began creating this image of Evan Rachel Wood as this activist who's been abused. Now, she never mentioned Manson until she was interested in doing, and here's where Amy Berg comes into it. She was interested, Evan Rachel Wood, in doing a documentary and having Amy Berg do it about her work as an activist, Evan Rachel Wood's work as an activist. And Amy Berg was interested, kind of, but it seems, if reading between the lines, that she knew that there was not really something very enticing there. Like, how many people are really going to want to watch a documentary about Evan Rachel Wood's gender activism? Like, nobody, right? Be like a vanity project. And so what happened was, at this point, Evan Rachel Wood then starts talking about Marilyn Manson and lets Amy Berg know that she would be willing to actually name Manson and go after Manson. And at that point, Amy Berg got a lot more interested. HBO eventually came on. And so then finally, months after that, in a hyper-coordinated announcement where there were actual documentary cameras, Amy Berg right next to her when Evan Rachel Wood did this, she got online and she named Manson in an Instagram post. That was February 2nd or 3rd of 2021. And of course, this is all captured in the documentary, and she's putting on the great show of like crying and all of that, right, for the documentary. But she names Manson as her abuser. And then on the same day, multiple other women come out naming him as an abuser as well. They all come out on their Instagram. Now,
by the way, I want to say two things about Amy Berg. First off, yes. She directed An Open Secret, which is, it's an open secret that movie's full of shit. And it's directed by Gabe Hoffman, or excuse me, it was funded by Gabe Hoffman, another enemy of mine, on Twitter. And it's filled with fake testimony. It was so bad that she even basically she didn't do any press for it, right? It was so bad. So she's known for making movies that are full of shit. So she directed An Open Secret. A couple of the people tried to speak out and say there were like false testimonies and stuff in the movie. Gabe Hoffman threatened to sue them and all this stuff. So she's made.
I'm glad you told me all that, actually, because I had no idea.
She made An Open Secret and looked that up. And there's a Huffington Post article about how he threatened to sue them, etc. It's one of the craziest articles ever because they block out so much to keep those guys from getting sued. Also, she directed West of Memphis, which is not the one I'm talking about, and it's about the same topic, but it's not the ones you should watch. You should watch Paradise Lost, 1, 2, and 3, and they were directed by Joe Berenson, I believe. Let me see, Paradise Lost, HBO, but hers is by far, Paradise Lost, The Child Murderers at Robin Hood Hills. Joe Berlinger, excuse me. I'll actually send you that link, but there's 3 different ones. She directed by far these are like the ones who chronicled it at the time, right? Like they were with Eccles, they were with Miss Kelly, like documentary, like following them around and chronicling West Memphis, like while this was happening. So those would be my recommendations for you to watch about the West Memphis 3, not her bullshit movie. But anyway, not that it was bad. I don't know. It's just, it's subpar compared to those. And they did 3 after they got out as well. But they basically got them released, not her. Those movies on HBO. They were also on HBO though. But anyway, now go ahead, continue with your story.
Yeah, so basically at that point, she and these other women named Manson, and this is this is basically the death knell for him and for his career, seemingly at that point, because you'll remember in 2021, we weren't, as a society, we were not nearly so jaded about Me Too and these types of allegations as we are now. And I think that people are much more skeptical, and they're much more hip to the fact that when you get things like money and the desire for money, the desire for fame, the desire for notoriety, personality disorders, all of this stuff can get together in a very combustible mix and create these situations, right? And it's not that there aren't a lot of women who are abused, but like these kinds of hoaxes, they're possible. But in 2021, it seemed like it was an open and shut case to almost everyone, because it's like, okay, all of these women and this respected Westworld actress, they're saying these horrible things about him, so goodbye. And so he lost everything at that point. There were articles attesting to the fact that his manager supposedly dropped him. I'm actually not sure in hindsight if that was true anymore, but there were articles saying that his manager dropped him, that his record label dropped him. He was dropped from several different TV shows that he was working on because he was branching out into an acting career at that point. That was it. And so what he has spent the last 3.5 years doing is suing Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore. It's currently still in the courts, and then defending himself against various lawsuits. Nothing criminal, because the police investigated it. They closed the file. They sent it to the DA. I've talked to people that the police talked to, interviewed. They know it's a hoax. And they sent it to the DA, and woke DA, LA DA George Gascon is sitting on it, and he's claiming he needs more information to make a final determination because he doesn't want to clear Manson for optical reasons, right? Because he's really woke and pro-victims and all that.
By the way, somebody in chat asked if Evan Rachel Wood was Jewish. And actually she is Jewish.
Well, there's kind of
she's not Jewish. Her mother's Jewish, so she's Jewish. But anyway, go ahead.
No, but it's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of the allegations that she threw in about Manson was that he was an anti-Semite, yeah. And this is because she said he collected German memorabilia and this sort of thing, and so it's interesting how this side was trying to use that argument as well, and to get that, getting the racial thing in there as well. She's not. I don't think that she's not
like
Jewish,
practicing, but I mean, if your mother's Jewish.
And and in the documentary, she actually sings a song, I believe in Hebrew, and she's lighting a menorah with her son. So she's really trying to lean in. And here's the funny thing. Yeah. If you go back and you look at, there's concert, I have it on my Instagram page, but there's concert footage of Evan Rachel Wood doing the Hitler salute backstage at Manson concerts, and no one else is doing it, because Manson actually doesn't do pro-fascist music. He's anti-fascist. And Evan Rachel Wood just thought it was so cool to go back there behind stage and nobody else doing it, to do the Hitler salute over and over. So it's really kind of funny when you think about this 180-degree turn that she's engaged in now. It's also funny
because I see a quote from her, and this is from 2012. It says, "My mother is Jewish and I was raised with a religion. I believe in God, but I'm not religious. I am spiritual. My definition of God isn't any religion. It's very personal." And then you tell me she's lighting a menorah and all this shit.
She's leaning into it because it's part of her victim story that he targeted her partly because she was Jewish. So anyway, so all of these people around the world come to this conclusion that this guy is a horrible monster and he's canceled. And we can do your super chat.
Realmbo 6 sent $1 on Rumble.
Gascon's a worthless
faggot. Is a worthless faggot. He's one reason I avoid LA County.
I don't think anybody likes him. I don't even think like the left. There are lots of people on the left who complain about him too. Like he's probably the most hated DA that they've had in forever. But so basically what happened is Manson got for a while completely canceled. He did work hard for 3.5 years behind the scenes to get back to the point where he could do what he's doing now and is producing music and putting it out there. But the guy went through hell and he lost a lot of money, I'm sure, fighting these legal battles, and he's still fighting some of them. And so you ask, well, how did I come to this conclusion? Well, I could tell you a lot that he's innocent. I could tell you a lot of different things. People should look into my work, but I'll tell you a few things that are really compelling. First of all, we are certain, and this has been documented in the court system through actual evidence, we are certain that Evan Rachel Wood and her co-conspirator girlfriend at the time faked an FBI letter, and actually faked it, like wrote a fake letter. It was Manson related, wrote a fake letter, picked a real FBI agent, faked that agent's name, and then submitted this in court as a part of the family custody dispute that she was having with Jamie Bell, the father of her son. And it's a long story as to why she did this, but this is a woman who fakes government documents, forges government documents, and then submits them in court. I mean, how much more out of touch with reality and manipulative can you get? So that's one thing. Another thing is that she kidnapped her child and absconded and fled to Tennessee. And the father of her child, the actor Jamie Bell, had to plead with the judge to let him see his child and get Evan Rachel Wood to bring the child home, because he couldn't see the child for months because Evan Rachel Wood had kidnapped the kid and was putting him off and not allowing him to see the kid. I know a little something
about that too, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So, and this is all documented. Like, if you go on my Instagram or what have you, I have court documents there that people can read. It's astounding. And Jamie Bell, the father of her child, her ex, says in these court documents that she is psychologically damaging their kid by making the kid afraid of Marilyn Manson. He says that the kid around him would say things like, "We can't do fun things until Brian's in jail," and stuff like that. And so if you read the court documents, Jamie Bell clearly thinks that Evan Rachel Wood is a manipulative, narcissistic nut job, and he says in the court documents that her allegations about Manson defy credibility, something like that. So this is the kind of woman we're dealing with. We're not dealing with some angelic Westworld, android or something. Like, the real person is like an Amber Heard. She's like an Amber Heard. And of course, she was friends with Amber Heard for a while too, although they both like to deny that. But it's true. And I've talked to people who knew that they were hanging out a lot at a particular time. So anyway, that's another thing. And I'll give you the last thing. One of the main accusers of Manson, her name's Ashley Morgan Smithline. She was one of his main accusers. She was even on the cover of People magazine. She went on The View and various outlets proclaiming how horrible he was and how abused she was, and he treated me like an animal and all of this. Well, guess what? She came out in a legal document and declared that the whole thing was a hoax, and she lied, and Evan Rachel Wood recruited her to lie. It's all there in this legal document, and it's a legal document. It's not an interview. It's something that you're held to on threat of perjury. So to me, just these three things, it's like, come on. And you add to that the fact, this is my last point, that Manson has a former fiance named Rose McGowan, Ms. Me Too,
who started Me Too, basically.
And who has claimed on several occasions now that he never abused her, that she does not recognize the person who is described by these women. If you look in her book, I've read her book actually, she has a whole chapter on how awesome Manson was and like the sweetest guy, and he helped her heal from her experience with Harvey Weinstein. I mean, this guy is actually the opposite of how he's being portrayed. And I've talked to a number of women. I talked to an ex-girlfriend on my show who said the same thing about him. She says he's a chump when it comes to women. Those are her words. He has a wife now he's been with many years in a relationship. She's fully standing by him. Dita Von Teese, his ex-wife, has come out also and declared that he did not abuse her. It's very clear to me.
Well, it seems like open and shut clearing, right? Like, I mean, an open and shut clearance. Now, I saw you met with him the other day. Is that the first time you ever got to meet him?
It is, absolutely.
I could tell by the look on your face, by the way. I could already, I don't know if it said it in the tweet, but I could just tell by the look on your face because you look like ecstatic.
Elated, yes. Yeah. It's too bad you can't pull it up because I should have gotten it.
No, I can grab it. I can.
Just scroll down my Twitter while I'm talking.
Yeah, keep talking though.
No, I'd never met him, and actually, someone took several photos. Actually, his wife, Lindsay, was taking the photos, but she took several, and I'm smiling in 3 of them, but in the 4th, I had that look of like elation on my face, and I said, that one captures it. That's good. No, despite what a number of my detractors think and have claimed over the years, I have not had this tight relationship with Marilyn Manson and have never spoken to him. I've never spoken to him prior to this. And the things that I've done, the things that I've talked about because I believe them. And I think after stating what I've just stated, you can all see why. And so, yeah, there it is. I went to a concert. I had announced that I was going to go to his first concert, his comeback concert. And so I was already going, had tickets and everything. And as it got to be the week of the concert, I was hearing from certain mutual people that there were, friends and some fans that Manson was going to be meeting with after his show. And so I thought, I shouldn't pass up this opportunity to meet with him. So kind of through back channels, I was able to meet him after the show. And, I'll tell you, Ethan, I thought about not doing it or not publicizing it because I know there are going to be a lot of people who say, oh, look, she's just she's elated. Look at this. She's just a dumb fan. And the whole reason she's been doing all this for the last 3.5 years is just to ingratiate herself with Manson. But
you are a fan of his work, though, right?
I am a fan now. But coming into this,
you
like
weren't like a mega.
No, I mean, I grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, and so I knew there were 6 songs, that we probably all know,
Yes.
and I liked and everything, but I'm just not a huge music person. I like classic rock.
Me
So,
too,
like,
actually. Yeah.
yeah.
Rolling Stones.
But
But anyway, go ahead.
yeah, absolutely. And so anyway, I thought about not putting it out there, but I was like, screw it. I'm tired of letting these kinds of concerns like worry me. And so I'm just going to put it out there and people can think what they want to think. And also I was really in a very celebratory mood because I do feel like he's really cleared some big hurdles. Yes, he's still got some of the legal shit to deal with, the lawsuits and public perception, but he's cleared some big hurdles to be back now and to be climbing iTunes and to be putting out videos that millions of people watch and so forth. And so I kind of felt like maybe there was a little like breathing room now to not have to worry about perception quite so much. But it was fun to meet him. I only talked to him for a little while. There are a lot of people coming backstage and in and out and so forth. I got to meet him and his lovely wife, Lindsay, and we talked about some serious stuff related to his philosophy about what the last few years have meant to him. And I think that if there's one thing that I would feel comfortable sharing, I'll talk about this more in a video later, but he really does feel like a lot of good, even though it's been like the trials of Job for him the last few years. He really does feel like a lot of personal good has come out of it for him and strengthening some of his relationships and his marriage, and also giving him some perspective and also encouraging his sobriety, because he had been trying, as I understand, to quit some stuff for several years. But when all of this happened, it wasn't related to the drinking, but when all this happened, I think he had the feeling of like, okay, it's time to like really get my life together, so because I'm going to have to go forward. I'm going to have to go to war, basically.
You have to be sharp. Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah, and I know the feeling. I've slipped a couple times, but yeah, that's one of the reasons why I decided that it's like I'm gonna have to be sharp to go through this, and so yeah, I definitely understand that feeling. I don't know if you know this, but he was intimately involved with getting the West Memphis 3 freed, and so was Eddie.
I heard that.
So was
he
Eddie,
and Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
right?
Him and Johnny Depp. This is crazy, by the way, the connection.
Right.
And Eddie Vedder, of course, Pearl Jam. So those 3, and there are a few others, but they were intimately involved with getting those 3. Got Eccles off death row, and got the others and got them released from prison. They were going to put Eccles to death, actually.
Yep.
And he got a stay of execution, I think, even a couple times. I'd have to double check that, but yeah, they were definitely going to kill him. They still have the death penalty in Arkansas. They do carry it out every once in a while. But yeah, I just now looked that up because I thought he was involved with that. And so I did a little Google search, and yeah, he was deeply involved with that. It's crazy how all that connects.
And of course, Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson were best friends for a while. I mean, I don't know the status of their relationship now because I know Johnny's been in Europe for a while and so forth. They've both been going through the shit, but like they've been really, really good friends. And so I think it's also, that's an interesting irony of all this too, is that they both have gone through Me Too hoaxes led by manipulative, conniving actresses. I mean, Marilyn Manson in his own fashion, his was way bigger and crazier than Johnny Depp, right? I like to compare it to like a horror movie. Like you have the first one, like Alien. There's one alien, and then there's aliens, and it's just like a ton of them. And I kind of felt like that was the Manson case in relation to the Depp case. Like the Depp case is like there's this one crazy fucking alien with borderline personality disorder that he had to deal with. But then with the Manson thing, it's like
it's like a bunch coming at you. And I see Mrs. Randy Williams in chat said they were guilty. A lot of people still think they're guilty.
I have heard people say that the Memphis 3 were guilty.
There are people who think they're guilty. I don't think they're guilty, but again, I was raised in an environment where 99% of the town thought they were guilty. I remember running into Eccles' girlfriend at Walmart, and my mom like grabbing me, like, you know what I mean? Like it was like that type of situation. Who knows for sure. But I came around to being pro West Memphis 3 and pro releasing them, actually, myself.
Dr. Jank sent $10 on Rumble.
Let's see.
I looked into Kurtz when she spoke out about the Ralph Amali. I told Ralph she seemed like good people. I was right. Also, fuck the goal.
Fuck the goal. One step
Have you passed
closer.
your goal?
Not yet. Hold on, let's see. Let me refresh that.
To help him pass his goal.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let me see if it'll reset. It should be 23 away, I think, now. Whenever it resets. Rumble, the Rumble API, they have to do something special. So it's 22. It's 22 away from the goal. And I don't know if you could see that or hear that.
Oh wait, let me move this. There's something.
Could you hear that or read what he said?
Oh yeah. Oh okay. I could. Yeah, I could hear and read what he said.
Oh, you could actually hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Like good, like through your headphones.
Like that weird robot voice.
Yeah, you can hear it. Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, because I was told super chats could be heard through the through there now. I've had some problems with the Roadcaster, so I wasn't for sure. But you were right, Jank. After she spoke out about the Ralph Amel, well, she kind of was just talking shit, really.
I didn't even know who the Ralph Amel was either. So this has been an education. I literally, no offense, but I just don't watch much YouTube or listen to podcasts or whatever myself. And so I was just tuning in for on Tug's channel for the Rekieta thing.
You know, he retweeted me yesterday with the same screenshot that I did, but he didn't steal it for himself. He put the same screenshot above mine, but quote tweeted me so that I still got all the views off of it. So
yeah, it seems like y'all are very cool. Well, he probably doesn't want to get bad karma again from stabbing him in the back.
Yeah, and we follow each other. We never talked, but like, you know, we follow each other on Twitter. But like, he could have just stole that for himself. He got more retweets on his.
He doesn't follow me on Twitter.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, Nick, how much more of this
for 33 cents, $1
do I have to do?
Hey, Kurtz, I have a PhD too. A pretty huge dong, that is.
By the way,
someone says they have a PhD.
We just hit the goal. You can probably hear that too. I don't know. But that's what I hit when we hit the goal. Gristle with the 22 spots said, "Fuck the goal, FTG." Assmaster says, "Hey Kurtz, I have a PhD too. A pretty huge dong, that is." Is what he is. What
that can
he
be
said.
More useful these days.
Now you have a PhD. We talked about this last time. Was it literature? You had a PhD in?
Yeah.
English literature. Have you ever read Wuthering Heights?
I have. I like it. It's kind of I like the other. If I can be now really highfalutin, I like the other Bronte better, Jane Eyre.
Really? You like Jane Eyre better? Oh God, that offended me. I read Jane Eyre, so I was in jail for 8 months.
And you read Jane Eyre in jail?
Yeah, I read Jane Eyre in jail, and I read Wuthering Heights in jail. I guess I just identified with Wuthering Heights a little bit more.
Are you a Heathcliff?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. And the tortured, star-crossed lover thing, it's kind of my jam too. And so, yeah, I'm a bit of a Heathcliff, I guess. But yeah, Wuthering Heights, and I think that was the only one written by Emily. But didn't she die after she wrote that? I'm not sure. But I'd have to double check. I'm not a Bronte expert, but I love Jane Eyre too, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm more of a Wuthering Heights guy. Yeah, I have to say. What's your favorite book?
Oh God, it's always hard. I really like Edith Wharton, actually. So I like The Age of Innocence. If you ever seen the Martin Scorsese movie with Daniel Day-Lewis, it's a pretty good rendering. So I like that book. I like a lot of just the existential.
Name a few. You don't have to just name one.
I like existential philosophers. So I like Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus. A lot of people read The Stranger. You might have read that in prison too. It would have been appropriate.
Not in prison, but I did read it. I like a lot of Roman history. So
I like some history too. I do listen to a lot of history podcasts because that's what my guy is into. And so like a ton of Dan Carlin, of course.
Yeah, so like Livy, Seneca, Tacitus, Robert Graves, actually. I don't know if you know who that is or not. You probably do, since you're PhD English literature.
You'd be surprised though.
Yeah, but he wrote I, Claudius, and he wrote Claudius the God, and they meshed those two together into a miniseries in the 1970s. And it's one of the best things you could ever watch on television. Of course, the books are better.
I've seen a bit of it. Is that the one with is it Ian or is it Roddy McDowall? I can't remember. But who's the actor in that? Do you remember?
No, you're talking about Malcolm McDowell. You talking about Caligula?
No.
Oh no, hold on. Let me see.
Now you have to look it up.
Derek Jacobi is the head.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if you know who Derek Jacobi is, but he's like one of the greatest actors of all time.
He's a big Shakespearean actor.
Yes, I saw him on the stage in the West End in London. And Lily James was there. And what's that guy's name? Madden from from Game of Thrones, Richard Madden.
Yeah.
He
Rainbow 6 sent $1 on Rumble. The idiot, but also Rainbow Six. Clancy.
Yeah. So of course he played. By the way, the idiot, but also Rainbow Six. Clancy. That's what
I like
they
Clancy.
said.
I read a lot of Clancy when I was younger too.
But so I got to see. Of course, Derek Jacobi is one of my favorite actors of all time, and yes, he is a homosexual. Chat. You don't have to tell me. I already know that. But I don't care. It's like, okay, Seinfeld. Yeah, I like Seinfeld too. Okay, sue me. But I saw him. He played Mercutio, I believe is how you say it, as an old man, which is not the usual age of the character, right? They're I think they're Romeo's buddy, right, or whatever. But that's not the usual age of the character. But they cast him. And Lily James, of course, was Juliet, and Richard Madden was Romeo. But he recited the Queen Mab speech. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's a certain part of Romeo and Juliet. He recited it like he's a Shakespearean actor, so it was probably not hard for him.
They're so good at it, though. It was like the true ones.
Oh, the true ones, like that are like he was literally trained as a Shakespearean actor. And like he recited it, I was just like goosebump. And I'm not like a Shakespeare expert or anything like that. Although I do love what is it? Fuck. I read this in Juvenile Hall actually. Julius Caesar by Shakespeare. But he recited it and it was just verbatim, just like it was like riding a bicycle for him. And
the great ones can do that. Absolutely.
It was amazing to see. And it was one of the coolest things. I was with my first wife. Then we're no longer a thing. But she lived in London. We had our
star-crossed
ocean
experience.
And we got married, but she lived there. I lived here. And we would split time back and forth. And she actually co-founded this show, believe it or not. A long time ago. I'm sure she loves it every time I say that. But I'm being sarcastic, by the way. But
would you have ever started this show if she hadn't been in your life?
No.
That's interesting. See, so things maybe they do. Even the failed relationships, they happen for a reason.
I agree. Even one I'm thinking about now, a different one. But no, I would have never started this show without her. It's funny because she was born in Karachi, actually, in Pakistan. But
I've always wanted to visit Pakistan. Yeah. Like when it's safe, I guess, for someone like me to go.
Safe, yeah. But she was born in Karachi, but she moved to London when she was like 1 or 2, and so she had the most posh, like perfect English accent. But she's Pakistani. Right. Well, but by heritage, Pakistani, British, whatever. They say Asian over there. But our voices, like on air, just kind of mesh. We had chemistry. Of course, we ended up getting married, right? So we had chemistry, but our voices just collided in a perfect way on air with my, Southern accent, obviously, and her posh British accent, and she had a really nice sense of humor. And
no,
I wouldn't have started without her. Can you hear this?
Not sure if you knew this, Ralph, but that actor you like is a homosexual. Also, Seinfeld is an oven dodger.
Okay, all
right. Your audience is so different than mine. It's quite an experience coming over here.
But no, I wouldn't have started without her because I used to host a show called The Ralph Retort Live. It was kind of like the prototype, for this show, basically. And I had a show with her and a woman named Janet Bloomfield, and she was an anti-feminist activist from Canada. And we did a show together, and then we decided, I used to be a blogger, I wasn't a streamer. And so we decided to do a show, but we needed a new name, like I wanted to rebrand and stuff. And I had this chat group called Killstream. Was the name of the group chat, and another foreign chick, Canadian, Margaret McLennan, he used to ghostwrite for Milo Yiannopoulos. He'll deny that, by the way, but she did. But anyway, I was trying to think of a name, and she goes, "Well, it's Kill Team. Why don't you just call it Killstream?"
It's such a great name too.
And I was
really
just like,
is. I like the name a lot.
Thank you for that. And it was all her. I won't take the credit for it. I'm not gonna steal it from a woman. She gave me that name, and I was just like, it's perfect. As soon as I heard it, I was like, it's perfect. And
see,
so
the Lord is working through all of these.
That's right.
All of these women to bring you to professional perfection.
That's I'll take that. And we used to host it once a week, and it was basically just to promote my blog and talk shit. But it was kind of like an early version of this, not the modern Killstream. That didn't start till 2018 because I was gonna go and stay with my fiance for a month. I'll go ahead and just tell you my life story. Fuck it. In Britain, I'd been over to Britain twice. British Museum, if you ever go there. And I was finally gonna get to go and stay for a whole month. And I went to this hotel room with this idiot that I knew who used to write some stuff on my site, and not the other one who killed his father. That's another story. But he killed his father while I was in jail, actually. But anyway, that's another story. I can tell that story. I'll tell part of that story in a minute. So, before that happened in August, I got really drunk at this hotel, and we almost got in a fight, me and this guy. And I went down to the lobby in Loudoun County, Virginia, and fell asleep on the couch. And I tried to call Nora, that was my first wife's name, and it was she was asleep. It was at a weird time, it was like 4 a.m. or whatever, or wherever the hell she was, in London. And so she was asleep and she missed the call. And so I fell asleep on the couch, and they tried to wake me up a few times. They couldn't. So they called the police. The police came to wake me up. And I didn't know, what I thought I was being attacked or something, right? Like I was that drunk. I didn't know what the fuck was happening. So the cop, just dragging me around, dragged me up off. And I took a swing at the cop. I didn't hit him though. I didn't hit the cop, and of course he roughed me the fuck up and threw me up against a wall, and put bruises all over my arms and shit. And then I knew I was getting arrested by that time. That kind of sobers you up a little quick.
You're lucky you just didn't land a punch on him, dude.
Well, no, that's the thing. That's the thing. I wish I would have landed the punch, and I'll tell you why in a sec. Because when they had me on the back of the cop car, I mule kicked back at one of them, and I missed. I didn't hit either blow, neither one. Mm-hmm. And they have this thing they made up that it was a female officer. It wasn't a female officer. It was two male officers. They just say that to fuck with me. Actually, it was a Mexican officer, the first one. And I live in Mexico now, so it's kind of funny. But I didn't hit either one of them. But in case you didn't know this, you don't actually have to hit an officer.
To make contact.
You don't actually have to make contact to get assault on a law enforcement officer. And so they charged me with 2 felony assault on law enforcement with minimum 6-month sentence in Virginia on both. And they charged me with the highest obstruction of justice. So I hired this lawyer out of Fairfax, and he's like, man, we'll get this dropped down. This is bullshit. We'll get this dropped down. And we went to court, and the only offer was plead guilty to 1 count of felony assault, or we go to trial on both counts, and you're going to lose both.
Oh, no. So what would the 1 count entail? What did you have to do?
I had to do 8 months in jail. And I would.
You shouldn't have to go to prison.
Yeah, well, that's true, but prison's better in some ways. I won't get into that.
Oh, but, that's true. No, I know what you mean. I've kind of heard that too.
Yeah, but so yeah, I had to do 8 months, and that's because I violated my bail. Or what I only had to do probably the 6. They didn't offer me a deal on time though. They said leave it up to the judge. But I violated my bail because they had this breathalyzer I had to blow into several times a day, and I had timed it where I could drink a half pint and 2 beers, because I had to take one at 11 and then another one between 7 and 8, and I had timed it where my blood alcohol level would go back down to 0. But of course, if you're an alcoholic, well, you go over. One night I had one too many,
right?
And
can't always keep it.
And so they violated me, and I ended up having to go to jail a couple weeks early, and they gave me 8 months instead. And while I was in jail, a guy I know or used to know named Lane Davis, and he wrote a lot for my site. And he would always fight with his dad over politics, and I was like, dude, just stop. You live in this house, like it's politics. I was raised where argue over politics, but don't let politics come between friends and family. Like that was just like
right.
That was inbred in my brain. Like, man, that's your dad. Like, just leave it alone. And him and his dad got in a fight, and he's like, you don't care about these pedophiles and this and that. And he was, these left-wing pedophiles, and he stabbed his father to death in front of his mother while I was in jail. I remember my wife called me. We got married. It was gruesome. We got married before I went to jail, so she called me. Actually, I called her because she couldn't call me, and she was just crying and crying and crying because he had killed his father. And I said, "Don't tell anybody, and maybe nobody will find out." And they didn't find out for like 2 or 3 months. They didn't find out. They didn't find out that it happened. And then
because there was nobody to like report him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't know his name. But they eventually.
That's right.
He was writing under a pseudonym, but they eventually found the article, and he had been doxxed at some point, and they linked it to me. And then they're like, Ralph tried to cover up this murder and try to do this and that, and it was more just like, no, I just didn't want to deal with it, right? So they attacked my wife while I was in jail and all this shit. So I got out of jail, and I was talking to this guy named Joe Bernstein. I think he works for the New York Times now, but he used to work for BuzzFeed. And he was like pimping me out for a story on Lane when I got out of jail. And usually I would never.
But, the story on who?
On Lane Davis, on the guy who killed his father. Okay. And so I agreed, and I got my wife to agree to cooperate on a story. And it was the very first article on BuzzFeed News. And it was pitched in a way of like, let's tell the real story, and this will like
this will make your situation
you
better.
Up basically, right? This will be better for you. And he came out to Richmond and bought me a couple beers and talked to my wife, and he wrote the story in a much different way, and. There's a quote,
I can imagine.
And I was like, I didn't mind the hate. I don't mind the hate, right? It doesn't, every once in a while it might get to you, but it doesn't really get to me. I almost like the hate, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of, it's kind of thrilling to be hated, honestly.
Right.
And you know what I mean? It's like a thrill that I know so many people hate me. I got a lot of people that like me too, but it's a thrill to know that many people hate you. And so he wrote this line that my wife had said. And she's like, I watch Alex Jones, I watch all this stuff. And she said, I didn't know there were people out there who took everything he said seriously, right? Like, I thought it was like for entertainment. And they quoted her by name in the article. And people started attacking her and just like going crazy on her on that line on Twitter.
My God.
And I was the one who had convinced her to cooperate on the article. And it basically helped break up my marriage.
I was gonna say, is that the catalyst?
Yeah, it was like the original catalyst for breaking up my marriage, because like she couldn't handle it, and she's a doctor now. I don't know where. I wouldn't even try to find out. But she was in training to be a doctor, and like that's when she realized that she couldn't do the Killstream. She couldn't do what I do and be a regular person. You know what I mean?
I mean, it is true to a degree. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, it's when she realized hit her like a ton of bricks. It's like I can't do this and be a regular person. And I think that was it wasn't like the only reason, but like that was the original thought in her head. I think that was implanted, where it was like, I can't, this ain't gonna work. Now other things happen later on, of course.
Sure.
But but I think that was the original thing. It's like you can't really be a regular person. Nick Rekieta, he can't be a regular person anymore. Like,
that's true.
It is what it is. True. But
I mean, even at my level, I see that in a number of ways. And really, you're talking about like things happening at certain times for certain reasons. Like we talked about last on my show that I was fired from my job, or let go with a number of other people, but let go from my job. And that was when I had just started my YouTube channel. But what's interesting about the synchronicity of this is that I really think that if I had not been let go from my job, that it would have been much harder for me to cover some of the stories that I've covered on YouTube and my podcast, or to speak the way that I speak about certain things, because especially being in academia, right? Like I was, there would always be like this
Chapel
impulse.
Hill, North Carolina.
What's that?
You went to Chapel Hill, right?
I did. I taught there for a while too, but I was actually at a little school in a college in Texas. I don't want to say the name, but I just say that but I will say that they had like the worst college football championship performance that I've ever seen.
Oh, I know exactly who you're
talking about. Everybody
knows. Initials, I'll just say. Yes, I know exactly the school now. But I watched that game.
I love all the people there and everything, and I definitely have big critiques of academia, but nothing against the people there. But I really feel like now in retrospect that I just couldn't have done this YouTube thing and maintained a job like that because you're right. You're right. You cannot be a normal person and do this.
You really can't. And the film, do you have a degree in film studies as well, or is that just something on the side? I seem to remember you might have a degree.
Yeah. So the official title is English. That's just the title of the degree. But I specialized in film, and so basically, like it sounds so pretentious to talk about this, but my dissertation was on analyzing similarities between themes in earlier Gothic literature. Like I did a lot of Mary Shelley, right? Her novels, and then looking at modern horror films and horror series, like even The Walking Dead. Cool, actually. Yeah. Well, it was fun. If you actually read the dissertation, it's online. It's maybe not that great, but it was fun to study. And so I have a lot of background theoretically and things that I've read relating to film. And that's what I tried to do in most of my classes when I was teaching. I taught almost all entry-level courses, and so it was just like intro to literature, intro to film, and I got to teach students really interesting things. But what happens is you do burn out after a while. I mean, I've been doing that for years and years and years, starting back when I started grad school. And so I was burned out. And so it was time to do something different. This life is definitely less stable than that kind of a life, as you know.
As I know well, yes.
Yeah, but it is interesting, so.
Thank God I have the fans that I have who've kept me around.
You have good
they
fans.
tried to put me in.
You reached your goal, 101%.
Yeah, they've tried to put me under many times, but I have a lot of supporters who.
So I have to go.
So.
I'm sorry, I have to go soon.
No,
but
I did want to. I wanted you to finish it with something good.
Well,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you about one thing. So I have not been keeping up so much with the situation between Rekieta and Aaron Imholt and Kayla and revenge porn. What's going on exactly?
So I was told by a source that that I forget who the source was now, and I wouldn't name him anyway, but because I'm not a journalist, but I still try to uphold that type of thing. He allegedly got sent a naked photo of Kayla Rekieta. I don't know if this is true or not. And
the allegation is that it was sent
and
by
he showed it to Gino Visconti like on air and texted it to him. And it's my understanding that Kayla Rekieta is pursuing revenge porn charges against him. You may not know this about me, but I've also.
Oh, I didn't mean to tread into any problematic waters.
No. I mean, it's public record. I have a revenge porn no contest plea on my record. So I have a little experience with that as well. I've lived a wild
full life.
Yes, a very full life. And it led me here.
For Imholt. I mean, do you think that really will constitute
it's a misdemeanor crime. I mean, he won't go to jail for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not good. I can tell you that. He'll have to hire a lawyer.
He's really Aaron is really milking his 15 minutes.
I saw you tweet. When is it gonna end? I saw your tweet. When is it gonna end? And not to advocate revenge porn, of course I played no contest. I didn't plead guilty for a reason, but I would not advise anybody to do it. And I would say it's really dumb. Although I think some of the laws surrounding it are dumb too, but I won't get into that. That's another conversation. But don't do revenge porn. I will say that because it ain't worth it. Even though in most states, like I said, it's a misdemeanor.
Second that.
Yeah, he won't.
Well, Aaron is certainly having a very full 15 minutes. I don't know who's going to save us, but I guess this will just be his shtick until the case is totally resolved. We'll be just talking about the Requietas.
Yeah, I got a clip of him to play after you leave, actually, where he's talking about Nick getting his kids back, and it's like, dude, just shut the fuck up, honestly. Me talking about it, that's one thing, but you're a direct participant. I don't know, man. It's just. It's crazy. Promote your channel. You promised to do a movie night with us as well.
I will do a movie night.
It'll have to be Apocalypse Now. We'll have to set up some kind of time for that.
No revenge porn.
No revenge porn. I pled no contest. I'll just say that. I didn't plead guilty. Anyway,
it is. I will say though, last thing I will say about it is unfortunate that something I read about that episode and what happened and everything, and shitty thing. Yeah, and it was certainly a shitty thing that you may or may not have done. But I do think that we throw around in society now the sexual offender label.
Yeah, they try to call me that for that, even though it's not a
because people equate it. The problem with it is that people equate it mostly still in their minds to pedophilia, and so when there is a crime or a situation and something maybe even that's really shitty that if you did, I hope you learn from, but I still don't think that should be lumped in with this other stuff. And so I do hate that for you that label is.
I will say there was reasons for it, the situation. And then my lawyer was really eager to take it to trial and win. And they came up to me 3 minutes beforehand and they said, you can plead guilty and 1 year suspended sentence and you're done. Or we can go in here and go to trial and see what happens. I should have took it to trial. But I said, you know what? I'll take that deal, but I won't plead guilty. I'll plead no contest. And they said, okay. And so 3 minutes. They said you have 3 minutes to decide.
It's always easy to look back in hindsight and wonder.
But that's crazy. It's just crazy the power of the state.
You don't want to wind up in prison,
right? Well, and I was on probate. There was a long story. Like I convicted felon for that bullshit in Virginia, right? Already. So who knows if they want to give me some time, etc. So it's best to just get it over with. But it's just crazy the power the state has over you, because they said you have 3 minutes to decide. The prosecution holds all the power. That's why this stuff that Nick talks about resonates so much with me, and it should resonate with everybody. Whether you're guilty, no contest, or not guilty, the power of the state is immense. Promote your stuff. We got to have you back.
Yeah,
I love talking to you. For some reason, me and you click on air for some reason. But tell them where to find you, and we'll have you back soon.
If you're down. So it's Colonel Kurtz 99. If you don't know how to spell it, just look up the Apocalypse Now character. Colonel Kurtz 99, all lowercase. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I am sort of on Rumble, but I hardly ever post there. I need to get better at that. But anyway, I've got an interview on Rumble with Russell Brand's ex-lover, who says that all these allegations against him are BS. So anyway.
Really?
All right. Yeah, it's on my YouTube as well. It didn't get a ton of views. The algorithm is sometimes it's just not working for me, or who knows, right? But yeah, I interviewed an ex-lover of his, and it was interesting. So.
You would think Rumble would promote that since they got him under a deal. But
I'm new though. It's a hard hill to climb, especially at first, as you know, when you start a new channel. But there's also stuff that I need to improve with my channel to make it seem a little more professional, sophisticated, and get more views. So I'm still learning. One day I will be like the master.
Well, hopefully we can keep collaborating, because I like you. I think the audience likes you, and so hopefully we can do more programming in the future.
I'll be back soon then, and I'll have you on my channel as well. Thank you so much.
I'm down. You're welcome, and enjoy your upcoming weekend.
And also, we had some good moments here, especially that I'd like to clip and put on my channel. That's okay, right?
Do whatever you'd like with anything here.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. See y'all later. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Colonel.
Thanks for watching this clip. This is Willow. Remember to like and subscribe.